Hi, my name is Rosa and I will be presenting the work which I did together with Eva Hornecker. It's just a graph, the Effect of Post-Hoc Rationalisation on InfoVis Evaluation. So as a short background, InfoVis concerns itself with visually representing abstract data and increasingly plays a role in our everyday lives. Despite this and a large variety of purposes for which InfoVis is used, the role of emotions remains underexplored, with most InfoVis research focusing on the usability. Nowadays, there is a growing body of work that explores user experience. However, only recently we see examples of studies that explore the effect of emotional engagement in InfoVis, with, for example, the work of Hogan et al. Showing that people emotionally connect to even very simple and classic charts. The contribution of our study is therefore an understanding for why emotions have received so little attention in InfoVis, and why certain methods seem to work better at uncovering their role. For our research, we conducted the study with 24 participants. Our study consisted of two parts, with the first part being an online survey. Here, participants had to review two traditional data visualizations, one bar chart about the share of non-nationals in European countries, as you can see on the top, and a line chart about the live births in the Netherlands, as you can see on the bottom. So first, participants got to see one of these visualizations, after which they had to fill out the attractive, the UEQ, and the PANAS. This process was then repeated for the second visualization. Having completed this, participants moved on to the second part, which was the semi-structured interview. This data we analysed using thematic analysis. In this presentation, we will focus on the qualitative results. The others can be found in our paper. Our thematic analysis resulted in 6 themes and 4 sub-themes, as shown in this visualization. For clarity and time purposes, we've grouped these themes in 3 clusters, which we will discuss now. So our first cluster is usability and aesthetics. Despite using questionnaires that assess the hedonic qualities and emotional aspects, participants thought our study would be about the aesthetics and the easiness of the graphs. Participants mentioned that these elements influence what you think of visualization and whether you actually want to look at it. Moreover, graphs should be easy. If this isn't the case, or if the aesthetics don't align with the participant standards, it results in annoyance towards the visualization. The second cluster concerns sense-making. In order to make sense of the visualizations, participants either looked for the message of the graph and what it was telling them, or they looked for personal information, such as their home country. This was needed, according to them, to relate to the visualization. This brings us to our last cluster, which focuses on the absence of connection. So, as just mentioned, participants stated that without personal information, they couldn't establish a connection to the visualizations. This resulted in a visualization being seen as just a graph, something that isn't meant to be interesting, but that should just get its point across. This feeling was shared by most of our participants, with 18 mentioning that they didn't connect to the visualizations. Participants stated that emotions had to be separated from it in order to analyze the objective data. Furthermore, it was implied that you aren't allowed to connect or feel anything. These findings are a stark contrast to previous work, which used the microphenomenological interview technique. Here, the authors found that people do connect to these simple visualizations on an emotional and personal level. We argue that the differences in findings are a result of post-hoc rationalization. In our case, a process where people initially do feel something and have a connection to the visualizations, but they either consciously remove it, subconsciously forget and repress it, or they possibly think it isn't interesting to the researchers. This would all explain why emotions have yet received so little attention in InfoVis, as they are simply being obscured. For future work, we argue that it's important to deepen our understanding of the microphenomenological interview technique. Moreover, it isn't easy to use. So therefore, we should also explore other techniques which provide similar deep insights. Lastly, we think it's important to keep exploring visualization alternatives such as visualisations and explore whether these do allow us to connect to data. Thanks for listening, we hope you enjoyed it, and please have a look at our paper for far more details.